Welcome, everybody, to the final score. I'm your host, not Nicholas Marcinov. I am actually Chris, the Dolphins fan, hosting the show this week because Nick is off doing some schoolwork. So he asked me to fill in. I'm by myself, whether you like it or not. If you don't like it, then that sucks. You're stuck with me. Anyway, if you're new to the channel, this is a weekly predictions game show slash podcast that Nicholas is hosting. Every week we predict which team is going to win in every matchup. And at the end of the season, we go to the Super Bowl. Whoever wins gets a jersey out of Nick's pocket. So yeah, I got to mention that. I'm pretty sure he would be upset if I didn't. Anyway, last week, everybody did decent actually across the board. The rankings so far go Nick is in second place behind his little brother, Ben, who's in first place with a record of 122 and 73. Nick is one game behind, only one game. He's 121 and 74. Then I'm in third place, 119 and 73. Then we have Tanner and DJ for fourth and last place, respectively, with a score of 106 and 89 for Tanner and 101 and 94 for DJ. There's slowly making progress to get back into the race. But anyway, we're gonna get right into it. The first matchup is the Thursday night game, the thumbnail, the game of the year. Las Vegas Raiders against the LA Rams. So last week the Rams narrowly lost to the Seahawks. Matthew Stafford's still pretty injured. Their whole, line is broken. They're literally looking like a college team at this point. I can't really say much for the Raiders either. I mean, yeah, they meet the Chargers, but the Chargers are just kind of beat up as well. When it comes to these two teams, and before I forget, the LA Rams did claim Baker Mayfield off of waivers from the Carolina Panthers, so he will be starting, pretty sure. But I don't see him making any kind of splash right now with anything. So I'm going to take the Las Vegas Raiders to win in LA. Unfortunately, I do not have my background, so give me just a second. Raiders. I can't find it. Anyway, I'm gonna go with the Raiders. No backgrounds this week, sorry. But yeah, so on to the next matchup. We got the New York Jets going to Buffalo to take on the Bills. The Jets really actually, you know what? I am not prepared. I'm sorry, guys. I don't even remember if the Jets played last week. Yeah, they did, didn't they? Give me a second here. Yeah, they played the Vikings, and they actually did pretty good against the Vikings. The Vikings didn't know really much to do about the Jets' offense. The Bills won last week too. They played the Patriots. They pretty much manhandled the Patriots. They only allowed New England to score 10 points, which pretty good, pretty good. Unfortunately, Von Miller is going to be out for the rest of the season. He's tore his ACL in that game. But even without Von Miller, I still think Buffalo is going to take this game. It's in Buffalo. I mean, the Jets just, I mean, I know their defense is decent, but I don't really see it. Joe Flacco is, Joe Flacco. I mean, he's probably better than the last quarterback. I can't remember his name right now. But yeah, I'm gonna go with the Bills. The Bills are here to win. They are 9-3 on the year, and they want that Super Bowl. They want that Super Bowl bad. Okay, on to the next matchup. We have the Cleveland Browns going to Sin City, whatever the heck you want to call it, to play the Bengals. The Bengals, shocker to me, beat the Kansas City Chiefs last week in a AFC rematch, or AFC championship rematch. Sorry, which honestly surprised me. Probably didn't surprise a lot of people. But then on the flip side, you have the Cleveland Browns with Deshaun Watson back at the helm. Go. And they made the Houston Texans look like fools. They made Nick look like a fool. I know he chose his morals, but I'm sorry, Nick, that was a fool's choice. But in this matchup, I think the Bengals, they are just a much better team. I don't care if the Browns have Deshaun Watson. They're not beating the Bengals. The Bengals are division rivals. Oh, excuse me. So this is going to be a pretty heated matchup. Both these teams are going to be looking to win this game, but overall, I think the Bengals just have a slight edge over the Cleveland Browns. And to the next matchup, we have the Houston Texans, like I just mentioned, going down to Dallas, or going up to Dallas, I guess. I don't know, whatever. Now Dallas beat the absolute tar out of the Colts last week. And, I mean, we all kind of saw it coming because the Colts, I mean, their team was looking pretty bad. They're looking like a high school team at this point, maybe even Pop Warner. And the Texans, like I said, they lost pretty, I mean, it wasn't too bad. What was the score again? 14-27. I mean, they scored. I mean, it's not like it did too terrible. But Dallas, I'm not going against them. I think Dallas is going to take it because the Texans just have no idea what they're doing right now. It's pretty bad. Let's see. Next matchup, we have the Minnesota Vikings going to Detroit. And now Detroit actually won last week, and it was pretty good. 40 points against the Jaguars. Now, I'm not saying that the Minnesota Vikings are the Jacksonville Jaguars, but that's a pretty steep number. I think that's the highest amount of points that they've scored all year. And on the flip side, I had mentioned earlier with the Jets that the Minnesota Vikings just barely beat the Jets. And now, yeah, the Jets may be a little bit better than the Detroit Lions, but a lot of people are saying that the Lions have a chance to upset. And you know what? I'm a firm believer. I'm going to choose the Lions. I know that sounds crazy because, the Lions have been looking, I couldn't say they've been looking terrible all year, but I mean, really, they're starting to pick something up. Dan Campbell is just, having himself a time. Jared Goff is finally looking like, prime Jared Goff from 2019, I think it was, or 2018, when him and the Rams went to the Super Bowl. Yeah, I mean, they're putting something together, and I'm liking it. Good job, Detroit. You earned it. Next matchup, we have the Philadelphia Eagles going to the New York Giants. And you know what? This is going to be a pretty interesting matchup, because if you don't remember from last week, the Giants actually tied with the Commanders. The score was 20-20, I believe. And that is actually the second time that the Giants and the Commanders have tied in their in history. Actually, it's back in 1997. They tied, and they just happened again last week. Both, I mean, the Giants, they had a pretty hot start to the season, but I don't know. Lately, they've just been looking like they've been going downhill. And Philly, I kind of mentioned it with Nicholas the other day that the Eagles have been playing pretty bad teams, and they haven't really been winning from big scores. I mean, if you look at last week, okay, Titans, they beat the Titans 35-10. I mean, that's pretty good for a team like the Titans. But I think the Phillies are gonna take another dub. They're gonna be 12-1, and we're all gonna hate it because the Philly fans are gonna come out of the woodworks finally and say, "Oh, fly Eagles fly, fly Eagles fly." But yeah, give me the Philadelphia Eagles to stomp into New Jersey and take a dub. So the next matchup is the Baltimore Ravens at the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, The Steelers won last week against the mighty Atlanta Falcons. Barely won. Marcus Mariota was kind of looking a little not Marcus Mariota and the Pittsburgh Pirates. I'm sorry, I got baseball in the mind. The Pittsburgh Steelers have actually, you know, just scraped by with another win against another pretty mediocre team. And I can't say much more about the Ravens. The Ravens went into to Denver. No, actually, Denver went into Baltimore. Sorry, and the Broncos kind of gave them a run for their money a little bit. The score was 10-9, and both teams just looked terrible. I mean, Baltimore lost Lamar Jackson's for an extended amount of time. And they just have their backup. I don't even know what their backup's name is. Sorry, Baltimore fans. But I tell you the truth, I don't see Baltimore winning this one. I know as much as I hate to say it, but I think Pittsburgh's going to take it. Without Lamar Jackson, their pass game is pretty shot. Their run game, I mean, I don't know if this guy can run like a Lamar, but obviously, I don't know. But I think the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to take this game, and they're going to put the Ravens down to 8-5. Sorry, Baltimore. Please don't get angry and commit mass violence against me. Anyway, we got the next matchup. The Jacksonville Jaguars going to the Tennessee Titans. Now look at Tennessee Titans may have lost to the Eagles, but that's the Eagles. The Eagles are a really good team this year. They know what they're doing. They're putting the pieces together. But the Jacksonville Jaguars aren't really doing much of anything right now. It seems like, they've had some pretty good games where they're looking pretty good, but the highs are the highs and the lows are really low. And to be honest, I think the Titans are going to be taking this W. They're a little bit mad that they couldn't really do much against the Eagles. They're gonna run up on the Jaguars, beat them up with a stick, and that's gonna be that. Give me the Titans. And for the first of the afternoon games, those are all the 10 a.m. games. We're done with the 10 a.m. games. For the PM games, the first matchup we have is the Kansas City Chiefs going to Denver. And I'm not even going to spend too much time on this. Kansas City is going to go in there and they're going to tie up the Broncos and score about like another 54 points or something like that. So give me the Chiefs against the Broncos. Bye-bye Broncos. Let's actually get into a semi-decent game. The Carolina Panthers going to Seattle. Now look at Seattle. I don't know. They pulled some kind of magic out of their butts to have Geno Smith actually revitalize his career and become an actually good starter for once. I can't say much again to the Panthers because they did put Baker Mayfield on waivers. They have Sam Darnold. They have JP, something like that. I forgot what his name was, as their backup, or even if they make him the starter. I just think that that the Seahawks are just a little bit better of a team, or not even a little bit. I think they're a pretty decently good team going against a pretty crappy team. So I'm going to take the Seahawks to win that one. Sorry, Panthers. I don't know. Call up Cam Newton again. Maybe third time's the charm. So we got the next matchup: Tampa Bay Buccaneers going up to Frisco. And man, what could I say about this one? You got Tom Brady, who, according to some stat line, is 3-1 since having his divorce with Giselle, and he actually, I don't know, when the Buccaneers played the Saints in Monday Night Football a couple days ago, they did not look too hot, and Tom Brady was getting pretty pissed off. I mean, he was raising his blood pressure through the roof, and he looked like he was going to smash another iPad or something. But and then you have the 49ers, who not only lost Trey Lance at the beginning of the season, They lost Jimmy Garoppolo against my Dolphins on Sunday too. That's a huge loss for them because now they have their third string who is, excuse me, Mr. Irrelevant. Now, yeah, they did beat the Dolphins even after Jimmy Garoppolo did go down with a foot injury. He broke his foot. Um, I just think the Dolphins just weren't what's the word? They weren't ready for the backup. Like they kind of were, watching a lot of film on Jimmy Garoppolo. They weren't watching much film on their third string. So they probably weren't ready for whatever kind of plays they had made for him. So, that's, on the Dolphins for not, kind of regrouping and trying to see what they could do. But with that being said, without Jimmy Garoppolo, I don't see the 49ers. Yeah, I don't. It's kind of tough because Frisco's got a really good defense and they've got key pieces, but just the fact that Jimmy Garoppolo is out, I don't see them winning this game. It's kind of a tough call because Tampa Bay hasn't really been looking hot all year after, going to the Super Bowl in 2020, going to the up to the I think the league match, or I can't remember what the name of it's called, but they played the Rams in the playoffs. They got knocked out the first round pretty much. But they are just not looking like a playoff team this year. But I'm going to go with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers just because they don't the 49ers don't have Jimmy Garoppolo. It's tough to say because the 49ers have been looking pretty good lately, but just not this week. Thank you. Then the last of the Sunday games, the Miami Dolphins go to LA. And it's funny because I actually got offered tickets to this game. I didn't accept them because the price was a little too steep for me. But right now the Chargers are not looking too hot. They've lost a lot of key players, like I've been mentioning almost week in and week out, that their offensive line and defensive line are just thrashed. They're just not, they're not getting it done on either side of the ball right now. Yeah, they did have a pretty close game with the Raiders, but it's just it's a division matchup where the Raiders just were a little bit upset that their team is just not looking good this year. Compared to the past couple of years, the Raiders have been trying to put pieces together. They got Devontae Adams, and they really haven't done much with him this year. So it's tough to say, but I'm gonna go with the Dolphins. Like I said, the Chargers just don't have the key offensive defensive pieces that they need. The Dolphins have been looking pretty spicy. They've got Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle. Tua has been pretty damn good actually. And the defense, has been a little bit shaky in the last game. But, they're just going to, brush it off and say, you know what, this is the Chargers. They're not the 49ers. Let's get it done. Let's get it, go back to South Beach and everything. So give me the Dolphins to pull out a W in LA. So then the Monday night game is the New England Patriots going to the one, the only, the dry rub, the Arizona Cardinals. Unfortunately, I'm not going to pick the Cardinals. I'm going to pick the Patriots. It just seems like every time I pick the Cardinals, especially when they're at home, they lose. And it's just terrible because, they have a decent team, but man, they're not looking too hot this year. I call them the dry rub all the time. That's like my nickname for them, but the dry rub ain't getting the dub this week. Sorry, Arizona. Maybe next year. And that is it. I am actually surprised I got through all those teams pretty quickly. On another note, we have 6 teams on bye week this week. We have the Atlanta Falcons, Chicago Bears, the Green Bay Packers, Indianapolis Colts, New Orleans Saints, and the Washington Commanders are all on bye week. With that being said, hopefully Nick will be back next week without any schoolwork. I think he's got finals this week or something like that. I hope I did a good job. If I did do a good job hosting the show, leave a thumbs up, a like or whatever, and a thumbs up in the comment too, in the comments. Comment thumbs up, or say, hey Chris, you did a good job. You did a good job. Okay, it's okay. You don't have to be the host all the time. Okay, all right. And with that being said, that's the final score. Thank you and good night. I forgot how to end. Stop recording.